The HOA president stood at my dock with police lights flashing behind her, demanding I unlock the gates blocking 120 families from their waterfront. But she had no idea those docks weren't hers to use anymore. This was the same lake where my daughter Natalie took her last breath 3 weeks ago, where Veronica Grayson shoved her into freezing water and watched her drown, where I buried my second family member in 8 months. But what Veronica didn't know was that I owned every dock her community had used for 40 years. I had security footage of her killing my daughter, and I was about to destroy her the way she destroyed me. Have you ever lost everything twice? And then discovered the person responsible handed you the weapon to destroy them? Has an HOA ever threatened you over property you legally own? Have you watched someone abuse power because they thought no one would fight back? This former corporate attorney thought her HOA presidency made her untouchable, until she learned I owned the one thing her entire community couldn't live without. Stick around to see how a $3,000 fake fine turned into manslaughter charges, embezzlement exposure, and the complete destruction of an HOA president's life. If you've ever dealt with HOA abuse, smash that like button right now. You're about to watch this woman face consequences she never saw coming. Now let me take you back to where this nightmare began. The day I bought peace and got war instead. I bought a $3 million lake to escape death and found it waiting at the end of my driveway. Pine Ridge, Minnesota looked like a postcard that morning. The lake stretched 15 acres, glass smooth, reflecting clouds so perfect they didn't seem real. 6 docks jutted into the water, weathered wood, sturdy construction, decades old. My deed sat in the passenger seat, every page promising ownership. The water, the land, those docks, everything. I'd spent 8 months drowning after COVID took Cassandra, my wife, my partner, gone in 2 weeks while hospitals overflowed and I watched through a window. The grief hollowed me out, left me walking through days without seeing them. Natalie deserved better. My daughter, 30 years old, elementary school teacher, lungs that betrayed her since childhood, needed clean air, quiet mornings, a place where breathing didn't feel like work. The asthma had gotten worse. Stress, maybe. Loss, definitely. Dad, it's beautiful. Natalie stepped out of the car, inhaler already at her lips. 1 puff, 2. Her smile came slow but genuine. We're going to be okay here. I wanted to believe her. We hadn't even opened the trunk when I saw them coming. 3 people, fast walk, determined. The woman in front wore a pressed gray suit despite the weekend, pearls catching sunlight. Behind her, 2 others. A man in his 60s, Asian, uncomfortable posture. A woman, 50s maybe, nodding along to unspoken agreements. The lead woman carried a clipboard like a weapon. Mr. Brennan. Not a question. She didn't offer her hand. I'm Veronica Grayson, HOA president. We need to discuss your property taxes immediately. Have you ever moved somewhere hoping for a fresh start, only to have someone ruin it within minutes? Tell me about it. The woman leading them wore a pressed suit and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Mr. Brennan, she said, not offering her hand. I'm Veronica Grayson, HOA president. We need to discuss your property taxes immediately. The fake invoice in her hand looked official until I read the fine print. Mandatory lakefront property tax, $3,000. Veronica tapped her pen against the paper, each click deliberate. Due within 5 business days of occupancy. You occupied yesterday. Behind her, Pinewood Estates sprawled across the hillside. Cookie-cutter mansions, manicured lawns stretching toward the water. The kind of neighborhood where rules mattered more than people. Houses worth $800,000 minimum. BMWs and Teslas in every driveway. Money everywhere, except in kindness. I was exhausted. Grief does that. Makes your brain fog. Makes simple things complicated. I don't understand. My deed doesn't mention an HOA. I own this property outright. Mr. Brennan, lakefront property in Pinewood Estates carries mandatory fees. Her voice had the practiced patience of someone explaining simple concepts to children. You receive the bylaws at closing. Pay the $3,000 by Friday, or we'll file a lien against your property. The man behind her, Robert Chen, his name tag read, shifted his weight, uncomfortable. The woman, Patricia Wells, kept nodding. I pulled out my deed, hands shaking from exhaustion, not fear. There's no HOA mentioned anywhere. I bought the lake, the water, the docks, everything. The lake affects community property values. Veronica's smile tightened. That makes it subject to our oversight. Daily interest accrues after Friday, $250 per day. Can I see the documentation that... Mr. Brennan, I don't have time to educate you on property law. She turned to leave. 5 days. Pay or face consequences. Have you ever been hit with a fake fine right after a major loss? How did you handle it? Natalie stepped out of the car, inhaler in hand, gasping slightly. Dad, is everything okay? Veronica's eyes locked onto her. Weak, vulnerable, an opportunity. Your daughter looks unwell. Lakeside living has rules. It would be unfortunate if complications arose. The threat hung in the air. She threatened my daughter's safety, and then made good on the threat in the worst way possible. I reached for my wallet. Easier to pay than fight. I just wanted peace. Look, Smart choice, Mr. Brennan. Veronica followed Natalie toward the dock. My daughter stood at the water's edge, breathing in clean air, inhaler lowered, face turned toward the sun. Miss Brennan. Veronica's voice cut across the quiet. This dock requires permits. You're trespassing. Natalie turned, confused. This is our property. Pay $3,000 or I'll push her in. Time slowed. I opened my mouth. Veronica's hand shot out. A shove, calculated, deliberate. Natalie's eyes went wide. Terror, confusion, understanding that came too late. The splash echoed. The water was freezing. April in Minnesota, barely above 40 degrees. Natalie surfaced, gasping, but her lungs wouldn't work. Asthma, water, cold. The perfect combination to kill. I dove in. The cold felt like knives cutting through clothes, skin, everything. I grabbed Natalie, dragged her to shore, her body dead weight, her face losing color. Natalie, baby, breathe. CPR, mouth to mouth. Compressions. My daughter's lips were blue. Her chest wouldn't rise. Somebody call 911. Robert Chen was already on the phone. Patricia stood frozen. Veronica walked back toward the road. Didn't run, didn't apologize, just walked away. The ambulance took 17 minutes. Natalie died in 14. The water was so cold it felt like knives. Natalie's eyes were wide, terrified, as her lungs seized. I pulled her out, pressed my mouth to hers, screamed her name until my throat bled. The ambulance took 17 minutes. She died in 14. The paramedic's face told me everything before his words did. Sir, we did everything we could. Everything. The word felt like drowning. At the hospital, police took statements. Robert Chen and Patricia Wells claimed they didn't see clearly. Accident, they said. Tragic, but unintentional. Veronica's lawyer called within an hour. The detective was sympathetic, but clear. Insufficient evidence for arrest, Mr. Brennan. I'm sorry. My wife dead. My daughter dead. Veronica Grayson walking free. The system protects the powerful. What would you do if someone killed your child and walked free because of their connections? Tell me honestly. At the hospital, signing paperwork I never should have signed. One thought burned through the fog. She killed my daughter on my property, my lake, my docks. And then I remembered. Veronica's community doesn't just use those docks. They need them. They've used them for 40 years, and I own every single one. I buried my daughter on a Thursday and declared war on Friday. The funeral home smelled like lilies and lies. Everyone saying, "I'm sorry," when what they meant was, "I'm uncomfortable." 20 people came. Natalie taught 120 students, but only her principal and 2 teacher friends showed. The rest stayed away. Death makes people nervous. I stood at her casket and made her a promise. Veronica Grayson would lose everything. 8 months ago, I'd buried Cassandra. Same funeral home, same director with a practiced, sad face. I'd thought then that nothing could hurt worse. I was wrong. Friday morning, I drove to the lake. Stood at the dock where Natalie died. The water looked peaceful. Liar. 6 docks, all mine. The deed was explicit. Historical water rights, riparian ownership, exclusive use of all structures. I'd bought them as part of the package, barely noticed during closing. My insurance background taught me one thing: read every document. I spent Friday night researching Minnesota property law, riparian rights, dock ownership, HOA limitations, discovery. Pinewood Estates had no legal right to the docks. 120 families had used them for decades, all trespassing. Veronica had made no apology, no contact. The community gossip called it a tragic accident. The poor man who should have watched his daughter more closely. No criminal charges filed. If you lost someone and the system failed you, would you take justice into your own hands or trust the law? Monday morning, I called the most aggressive property attorney in Minnesota. Simone Kapoor answered on the first ring. "Mr. Brennan, I read about your daughter. I'm very sorry." Her voice shifted. "Now, tell me what you want to do to the person responsible." My attorney didn't just take my case. She smiled when she heard who we were fighting. Simone Kapoor's office walls were covered with framed newspaper articles. Attorney wins 2 Madar's judgment against HOA. Board president forced to resign after legal battle. Property rights lawyer defeats corrupt HOA. She saw me reading them and smiled. "I collect trophies. Veronica Grayson will make a nice addition." I spread my deed across her desk. "I own 6 docks. Pinewood Estates has used them for 40 years without permission." Simone's eyes lit up. She pulled out county records, cross-referenced my deed, checked riparian rights laws. 20 minutes of silence. Then she looked up. "Mr. Brennan, you own absolute rights to those docks. Minnesota law is crystal clear. They've been trespassing for decades. Can we stop them? We can destroy them." She leaned forward, hands folded. "Mr. Brennan, I need you to understand what we're about to do. We're not just blocking dock access. We're destroying 120 families' property values, their investments, their peace of mind. They'll hate you." I didn't hesitate. "Good. Now they'll know how I feel." Simone's smile was sharp. "I've seen what these boards do to people. Veronica Grayson has left a trail of victims. It's time someone fought back." The strategy was simple. Injunction filed within 48 hours. Locks and gates installed on all 6 docks. Cease and desist letters to the HOA board. Legal threat of trespassing charges for violations. "She'll fight back," Simone warned. "She's a former attorney. She'll use every trick." Letter. Would you hire a lawyer known for being ruthless or try to take the high road? What's your strategy? Hit that subscribe button because what happens next will blow your mind. This HOA president has no idea who she just messed with. Friday at 4 p.m., the injunction was filed. By 4:15, locks were being installed on all 6 docks. By 5:30, my phone started ringing. Angry Pinewood Estates residents demanding answers. I let every call go to voicemail. Veronica would call last. And when she did, I'd be ready. Saturday morning, 120 families woke up to discover their lakefront property was suddenly landlocked. The Johnsons arrived first. 7 a.m. Coffee cups still in hand. They stood at the gate, chains wrapped tight, padlock gleaming, sign posted in bold letters. Private property, no trespassing. Violators will be prosecuted. Their kids started crying. Boat camp started Monday. $2,000 already paid. By 8 a.m., 30 families had gathered. Anger built like pressure in a sealed container. The Patel family argued with their realtor on speakerphone, everyone listening. "What do you mean the sale fell through?" Mrs. Patel's voice cracked. "We close in 3 days." "Ma'am, the buyers saw the dock situation. They're walking away. No lakefront access means no lake premium. Your home just lost $150,000 in value." Chaos doesn't sound like screaming. It sounds like 30 people realizing their biggest investment just became worthless. Emergency calls flooded Veronica's phone. "Fix this immediately. Do something. We're losing our buyers." Some residents came to my door, polite at first, then angry. "You can't do this. We have rights." One man, late 40s, receding hairline, expensive watch, banged on my door hard enough to rattle the frame. I opened it slowly. Let him see my face. Grief carved deep, hollowed out, empty. My daughter had rights too. My voice was quiet, dead. She had the right to not be murdered on my property. Call your HOA president. She'll explain. He backed away. Something in my eyes scared him more than his property value. 3 families tried jumping the fence. I called the police each time. Officers arrived, checked my deed, cited the trespassers. Minnesota law was crystal clear. My property, my rules. The community WhatsApp group exploded. 247 messages in 2 hours. Facebook groups next. Next door after that. Russell Brennan is holding our community hostage. But buried in the comments, other names surfaced. Other victims. People Veronica had targeted before. The pattern was there if you looked. Veronica called at noon. I let it ring 3 times before answering. Recorded every word, legal in Minnesota. "Mr. Brennan, this is harassment. I'm filing a lawsuit today. You'll reverse this injunction immediately or face consequences you cannot imagine." Consequences? I smiled at my recording device. Like being shoved into freezing water, like drowning while someone watches, those consequences. "You're mentally unstable. I'm getting a restraining order. Try it. Every threat you make goes on record. Every lie gets documented. I own those docks, Veronica. Minnesota Common Interest Ownership Act is clear. Riparian rights trump HOA claims. You've been trespassing for 40 years. Her breathing changed, panic creeping in. "You'll regret this. If you owned property others had used illegally for years, would you block access to make a point? Or is this too extreme?" Veronica's final words before hanging up. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life, Mr. Brennan. I will bury you." I smiled at my recording device. "No, Veronica. You already buried my daughter. Now I'm going to bury you." While Veronica planned her counterattack, I was building an evidence fortress. 12 cameras, 16 angles, 0 blind spots. Professional installation took 6 hours. 4K resolution, night vision, cloud backup. Every inch of my property now documented. The installer, Mike, ex-military, understood immediately. Worked without questions. "You want to catch someone?" he asked while mounting camera 7. "I want to make sure no one lies about what happens here again." He nodded. "This system will record a mosquito landing on your dock. Court-grade quality. Minnesota surveillance laws are straightforward. Your property, your cameras." I checked twice. Consulted Simone. Everything legal, everything documented. But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. I'd knocked on 20 doors asking neighbors about security cameras. Most said no. Some slammed doors. They'd already chosen Veronica's side. Then I reached the Hendersons. Late 70s. Married 52 years. Their house sat perpendicular to the lake, Ring doorbell facing the water. Mrs. Henderson answered. Her eyes were red. "Mr. Brennan, we're so sorry about your daughter." Her voice broke. "We saw what happened." Time stopped. "You saw?" Mr. Henderson appeared behind her. "Our Ring camera faces the lake. We've been sick about it. Didn't know if we should get involved." They invited me in. Offered coffee I couldn't taste. Mrs. Henderson pulled up her app with shaking hands. "We didn't want to get involved, but what she did to your little girl." Natalie was 30, but I understood. To them, any daughter was a little girl. "May I have a copy?" Mrs. Henderson's hands shook as she pulled up the footage. "We didn't want to get involved, but what she did to your little girl." She wasn't little, she was 30. But I understood. "May I have a copy?" She nodded. "Destroy her, Mr. Brennan." The footage was crystal clear, better than I'd hoped. The Ring camera captured everything. Veronica following Natalie to the dock, the confrontation, the audio. "Pay $3,000 or I'll push her in." Then the shove. Deliberate, calculated, both hands. Not an accident. Murder. Natalie's face, terror, confusion. The moment she realized she was falling. Veronica's expression, cold, no remorse. Watching Natalie drown like someone watching paint dry. I watched it 17 times. Each viewing burned deeper. The 18th time, I couldn't watch Natalie's face anymore. Only Veronica's. Cold calculation, zero remorse. Would you give evidence to a grieving parent if it meant getting involved in a legal battle? What's the right thing to do? I sent it to Simone first. She called back in 4 minutes. "Russell, this is manslaughter, possibly second-degree murder. The audio shows premeditation. The video shows intent. I'm forwarding this to the district attorney immediately." Good. The 18th time I watched, I sent it to the district attorney's office. One sentence in the email. "This is murder." Cornered predators fight back, and Veronica's claws came out fast. Monday morning, Simone called. She filed a lawsuit. Harassment, property interference, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Claims you're mentally unstable from grief and using property ownership as a weapon. Is she serious? Dead serious. She's also filed for a restraining order. Claims you're dangerous, threatening residents, creating a hostile environment. I laughed. Actually laughed. She killed my daughter, and I'm the dangerous one. She's good, Russell. Former attorney. She knows how to manipulate the system. Simone paused. But she just made a critical mistake. What? Her lawsuit admits you own the property. She's suing over your legal use of your legal property. That's a gift. The social media campaign started that afternoon. Next door post, 47 comments in 2 hours. Russell Brennan has locked our children away from the lake they've enjoyed for years. This is cruelty disguised as property rights. He's punishing innocent families for a tragic accident. But buried in the comments, one name kept appearing: Martinez, then Okafor, then Chen. Other residents she'd targeted. People were starting to talk. Tuesday, Veronica called an emergency HOA meeting. Official notice. Motion to address the Russell Brennan situation and restore community access to recreational facilities. Wednesday, something unexpected happened. Robert Chen called me, the quiet board member who'd stood behind Veronica that first day. "Mr. Brennan, we need to talk." His voice was shaking. Privately, not at my house. Coffee shop on Highway 7, 1 hour. I met him. He looked 10 years older than when I'd first seen him. I never approved that $3,000 demand. The words rushed out. "Veronica told us you'd agreed to pay, said it was a done deal. I didn't know she'd confronted you until after what happened to your daughter. Keep talking." She's been acting without board authority for months, maybe years. Chen slid a folder across the table. "I started digging after Natalie died. These are just the violations I found in the last 6 months, all issued by Veronica, none voted on by the board. 37 violations, $84,000 in fines. No board approval on any of them. Why are you telling me this? Because she's gone too far. Because your daughter is dead. Because I've watched her bully this community for 4 years and I stayed quiet." Chen's eyes were wet. "I'm done staying quiet." "Mr. Brennan," Chen said quietly, "you're not her first victim. You're just the first one with the resources and motivation to fight back. Have you ever seen an organization split when the truth comes out? What happened? If this justice moment just gave you chills, hit that share button. Everyone dealing with HOA nightmares needs to see this story." Chen stood to leave, then stopped. "Emergency board meeting tomorrow night. Veronica doesn't know I've called it. Bring your attorney, and bring any evidence you have about Natalie. The other board members need to see what she's capable of." That night, an email arrived at midnight. Subject: "You need to see this." Attachment: Pinewood Estates Financial Records 2019 to 2025. XLSX file size, 47 megabytes. First sheet: Unapproved expenditures, V. Grayson. The financial records revealed Veronica wasn't just a killer, she was a thief. Simone and I spent Thursday reviewing the spreadsheet. Coffee at 8 a.m., pizza at 3 p.m., Chinese food at 9 p.m. We didn't stop. The numbers told a story uglier than any violation notice. LM Property Services. Simone highlighted the vendor name. $4,200 paid November 2021 for compliance documentation. So, LM Property Services is registered to Linda Morrison, Veronica's maiden name. She created a shell company and paid herself HOA funds. 4 years of payments, $180,000 total. No board approval, no contracts, no oversight. Look at this. Simone pulled up another sheet. $8,900 emergency landscape assessment, March 2023. Know what else happened March 2023? I didn't. Veronica's daughter enrolled at Lakeside Preparatory Academy. Tuition, $8,900 per quarter. Simone's smile was sharp. Every emergency assessment coincides with a major personal expense. Lexus down payment, cosmetic procedures, private school. She's been stealing from her neighbors for years. The spreadsheet told a story uglier than any violation notice. $4,200 to LM Property Services for compliance documentation. The same month, Veronica bought her Lexus. $8,900 in emergency landscape assessments, coinciding with her daughter's private school tuition. She'd been stealing from her neighbors for years. But Chen's second folder revealed something worse. 23 families, 4 years, $240,000 in fines, elderly couples. Single mothers, minority homeowners, a pattern emerged. The Martinez family, $18,000 in violations over 8 months, forced to sell, illegal lien process, Mr. Okafor. Nigerian cardiologist, $900,000 home, $12,000 in fines for aesthetic violations. Code, wrong skin color. Single mother, 3 kids, $8,000 in fines for children's toys in yard. Harassment until she moved. Mr. Brennan, Chen said quietly, you're not her first victim. You're just the first one with the resources and motivation to fight back. He slid a folder across the table. These families deserve justice too. If you discovered your HOA president was stealing from the community, would you expose them publicly or report privately? Simone started drafting criminal complaints. Embezzlement, fraud, theft by swindle, civil lawsuit for fund recovery, class action paperwork for the victims. Thursday afternoon, Veronica learned about the financial audit. Chen had frozen HOA accounts pending board review. Her lawyer called his lawyer. Threats flew, but the damage was done. The empire was collapsing. The district attorney's office called Thursday afternoon. Mr. Brennan, we've reviewed the ring camera footage and the financial documents your attorney submitted. We're opening a criminal investigation into Veronica Grayson for manslaughter and embezzlement. Don't confront her. Let us handle this. I thanked him politely. Professional, calm. But Sunday's emergency HOA meeting was already scheduled, and Veronica was going to face her community before she faced a judge. One victim is easy to dismiss, but 23 homeowners with identical stories? That's a pattern impossible to ignore. Chen gave me the list Friday morning. 23 names, addresses, phone numbers. They all have stories. They all stayed quiet. Maybe you can change that. I called them one by one, told them my story, listened to theirs. By Saturday afternoon, 19 families had agreed to meet. The community center's Sunday evening looked like a support group. Different ages, different backgrounds, different stories, but identical pain in their eyes. Mrs. Martinez spoke first, 83 years old. Husband died 2 years ago. Veronica sent violation notices the week after his funeral. Grass too long, mailbox faded, gutter sagging, $18,000 in 8 months. We lost our home of 30 years. I live with my daughter now in a 1-bedroom apartment. The room didn't just listen, it got angry. Mr. Okafor stood next. 6'2", Nigerian accent. Cardiologist at Hennepin County Medical Center. $12,000 in fines over 2 years. Violations for things other homeowners do without penalty. She told me if I couldn't maintain standards, I should move somewhere more appropriate for people like me. She told me if I couldn't maintain standards, I should move somewhere more appropriate for people like me, said Mr. Okafor, a Nigerian cardiologist. I own a $900,000 home, but my skin made me a target. The room erupted. This wasn't about rules. It was about power. A single mother, Jennifer, nurse, 3 kids under 10, stood next. $8,000 in fines for children's toys in the yard, bike on the sidewalk, chalk on the driveway. She called my kids visual pollution. Jennifer's voice broke. We moved last year. I couldn't afford the fight. Story after story. Systematic abuse. Targeted harassment. 127 violations over 4 years, $240,000 in fines, lives destroyed. She needs to be stopped. Mr. Okafor's voice was steel. Not just for us, for whoever comes next. We drafted a joint petition, demanded Veronica's immediate removal, requested financial audit, called for criminal investigation. Every family signed. Chen arranged media contact. Local news wanted the story. HOA president accused of systematic harassment and embezzlement. We established a legal fund, pooled resources for potential lawsuits. Not revenge. Justice. Have you ever been part of a group standing up to injustice? How did it feel to not be alone? The community center held 19 families Sunday evening. Different ages, backgrounds, stories, but identical pain in their eyes. When Mrs. Martinez described losing her home of 30 years over fabricated violations, the room didn't just listen. It got angry. As the meeting ended, my phone buzzed. Veronica Grayson calling? I answered on speaker. Everyone listened. Mr. Brennan, I understand you've been organizing some kind of gathering. Her voice dripped fake concern. I want you to know that spreading false information about board members is actionable defamation. I have attorneys. See you at tomorrow's meeting, Veronica. I kept my voice level. Bring your lawyer. You're going to need one. I hung up. The room was silent. Then someone started clapping. Then everyone. Tomorrow, Veronica would face her victims, all of them, together. The boardroom was packed with 80-plus homeowners demanding justice, and one woman realizing her kingdom was collapsing, standing room only. Bodies pressed against walls, parents holding children, elderly couples who hadn't attended a meeting in years, the largest HOA gathering in Pinewood history. Veronica arrived at 6:58 p.m., 2 minutes before the meeting. Confident, pressed navy suit, pearls, leather portfolio. She believed she controlled the narrative. She was wrong. Robert Chen called the meeting to order, his voice steady, calm. Tonight, we address serious allegations regarding board conduct, financial irregularities, and the death of Natalie Brennan. Veronica's smile faltered. I yield the floor to Russell Brennan. I stood, Simone beside me. 3 binders of evidence on the table. The projector screen glowed white behind me. 3 weeks ago, Veronica Grayson came to my property. She demanded $3,000 for a fake fee. When my daughter questioned her, Veronica shoved Natalie into freezing water. Natalie drowned. She died before the ambulance reached the hospital. The room went silent. Some of you think this was an accident. Watch. The Ring camera footage played on the projector screen. Crystal clear, audio perfect. Veronica following Natalie to the dock. The confrontation. Pay $3,000 or I'll push her in. Then the shove. Both hands. Deliberate, calculated. Natalie's face. Terror, confusion. The moment she realized she was falling. The water. The drowning. The projector screen showed Natalie's final moments in silent, brutal clarity. The audio played Veronica's voice. Pay $3,000 or I'll push her in. Then the shove. Then the drowning. The room didn't just go quiet. It stopped breathing. Someone sobbed. Someone else swore. Veronica stared at the screen, her face drained of blood. That is murder. My voice didn't shake. Not an accident. Murder. Parents covered their children's eyes. Crying echoed through the room. Veronica sat frozen, staring at the screen. But that's not all. I pulled up the financial records. Veronica has been embezzling HOA funds for 4 years. $180,000 paid to a shell company she owns. No board approval, no contracts. Theft. The spreadsheet displayed on screen, line by line, payment by payment. Mrs. Grayson, Robert Chen's voice was cold, precise. Can you explain why you paid your own company $180,000 without board authorization? Veronica's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Can you explain why you physically assaulted Mr. Brennan's daughter, resulting in her death? Silence. Then I move for your immediate removal from all HOA positions, pending criminal investigation. Second, said every other board member simultaneously. Mrs. Martinez stood, 83 years old, shaking but strong. Veronica fined us $18,000 over 8 months. We lost our home. Mr. Okafor rose next. She targeted me because of my skin color, $12,000 in fake violations. One by one, families stood. 19 testimonies. Systematic abuse exposed. The board voted. 6 enost. Immediate removal. Veronica grabbed her papers, fled toward the exit. One more thing. I stood. The room froze. I'm filing a civil lawsuit for wrongful death, and I'm donating any judgment to a fund for the 23 families you victimized. Veronica's face twisted with rage and fear. You'll regret this. My voice was quiet, final. No, Veronica. You already do. Have you ever witnessed someone face consequences for their abuse of power? How did it feel? The police detective approached Veronica as she reached the parking lot. Mrs. Grayson, I'm Detective Morrison with Pine Ridge PD. We need you to come to the station to answer questions regarding the death of Natalie Brennan and financial irregularities in your HOA management. Veronica looked back at the clubhouse, 80 faces watching through windows. No one looked away. No one came to help. The district attorney didn't just file charges, they threw the entire legal system at her. Tuesday morning, criminal complaint filed, involuntary manslaughter, embezzlement, theft by swindle, fraud. Veronica was arrested at 9 a.m., booked at Hennepin County Jail, mugshot taken, fingerprints, orange jumpsuit, bail set at $250,000. Her attorney, expensive from downtown Minneapolis, held a press conference. This is a tragic accident being weaponized by a grieving man. Mrs. Grayson is innocent. These charges are excessive. That afternoon, I authorized release of the Ring camera footage to the media. Channel 5 led with it. Former HOA president faces manslaughter charges after video shows fatal shove. The footage played during dinner hour. Millions of viewers watched Natalie die, watched Veronica's cold calculation. The comments section exploded. Maximum sentence. Lock her up. Justice for Natalie. Friends disappeared. Social media connections vanished. Former allies deleted her number. But I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no relief, just emptiness. The local news segment opened with Natalie's school photo, then cut to Veronica in handcuffs. The anchor's voice was measured but damning. A former HOA president now faces manslaughter charges after Ring camera footage captured her shoving a woman with severe asthma into a lake. Justice looks different than you think it will. Simone filed the civil lawsuit Thursday. Wrongful death, $5 million damages. Minnesota law allowed recovery for loss of companionship, emotional suffering, funeral expenses. The HOA filed their own suit. Recovery of $180,000 in embezzled funds. The 23 victim families joined a class action. Illegal fines, harassment, emotional distress. Veronica's assets frozen. Bank accounts, investment portfolios, her house. She's destroyed, Simone said over coffee Wednesday morning. Financially, legally, socially. She'll never recover from this. Good. But it didn't feel good. When someone who hurt you finally faces the law, is it as satisfying as you imagined, or is it more complicated? Friday afternoon, Veronica's attorney called. Simone put him on speaker. My client would like to discuss a settlement. What's your offer? Silence. Then, full restitution of embezzled funds, resignation from all board positions, public apology, and dropping opposition to the wrongful death suit in exchange for recommending minimum sentencing. Simone looked at Russell. He shook his head. Tell your client she's going to prison, and she's going to pay every penny she stole. No deals. She came to control a neighborhood and left having lost everything she tried to protect. The for sale sign appeared Tuesday morning. Urgent listing, below market value. Veronica needed cash fast. Legal fees were draining everything. Her part-time legal consulting job ended. Effective immediately. No explanation needed. Everyone had seen the footage. Her husband filed for separation. Not divorce, not yet. But separate households, separate finances, distance from the disaster. Their daughter transferred schools. Classmates bullied her. Your mom's a killer. Teachers couldn't stop it. Private school wouldn't take her back. Tuition funded by stolen money. Former friends stopped returning calls. The country club revoked membership. Charitable boards removed her name from donor walls. Social exile is quieter than you think. No dramatic confrontations, just silence. Unanswered texts, events you're no longer invited to. Friday morning, the house sold. $150,000 below value. Desperate seller, opportunistic buyer. The for sale sign went up on Tuesday. By Friday, it had sold plastered across it. Desperate seller, opportunistic buyer. The moving truck pulled away on a gray Monday morning. A few neighbors watched from windows. No one waved goodbye. Robert Chen stood beside me as Veronica's car disappeared around the corner. Do you feel better? He asked quietly. I watched until the taillights vanished. No, but my daughter isn't here to feel worse either. That's something. The anonymous letter arrived Wednesday. Expensive stationery, flowered border, shaky handwriting. You ruined my life over property rights. I hope you're proud. No signature needed. I filed it with the rest of the evidence. She still didn't understand. This was never about property. It was never about docks or lakes or money. It was about Natalie. It was about justice for a woman who died because someone thought power made them untouchable. When someone who hurt you loses everything, do you feel vindicated? Or just sad that it came to this? The criminal trial was set for November. 12 jurors would see the ring footage, hear the victim testimonies, review the financial crimes. Her attorney projected 8-12 years in prison if convicted. Maybe more if the judge considered the embezzlement aggravating. But I wouldn't be there to watch. I had something more important to do. Removing a tyrant is one thing. Rebuilding what she destroyed is another. The new HOA board election happened 3 weeks after Veronica's removal. Robert Chen ran for president unopposed. He won with 98% of the vote. His first act, emergency reforms, transparency policies, appeals process for violations, strict limits on fines, board votes required for all penalties. Minnesota Common Interest Ownership Act already protected homeowners. But Pinewood went further. No fine exceeding $100 without board approval. No assessments without 30-day notice, financial audits quarterly. Chen reviewed every violation Veronica had issued. 4 years of records, 127 violations, $240,000 in fines. Checks went out the second week of June. Refunds to 23 families. Mrs. Martinez received $18,000. Mr. Okafor got $12,000. The single mother, $8,000. Apologies accompanied every check. Handwritten notes from Chen. We failed you. This won't happen again. The first neighborhood event in 3 years happened in July. Block party. Grills, music, kids on bikes. Someone planted flowers in non-approved colors. No one cared. The neighborhood block party filled the cul-de-sac with grills, music, and something that had been missing for years: laughter. Kids rode bikes without parents worrying about unapproved recreational equipment. Someone had planted flowers in non-sanctioned colors. No one cared. Property values stabilized by August. New residents specifically asked about the reformed governance. "We heard you got rid of a corrupt board. That's why we chose Pinewood." Mrs. Martinez approached me at the block party. 83 years old, still living with her daughter. But the refund helped. "Thank you," she said simply. "Not just for me, for everyone she hurt." I nodded. "I'm sorry I couldn't do it sooner." She squeezed my hand. "You did it when it mattered." Chen implemented conflict resolution procedures, mediation before enforcement, community input through quarterly town halls, financial transparency, monthly reports posted online. What would you do to make your community better if you had the chance? What one thing would you change? 3 months after Veronica left, Robert Chen approached me at the mailbox. "There's something you should know," he said, face serious. "What?" "Veronica tried to join an HOA board at her new community in Wisconsin. They called me for a reference." He paused. I told them everything. They rejected her application and warned every HOA in the county. Justice, it seemed, had a longer reach than any of us knew. 6 months after burying my daughter, I finally found a way to honor her that Veronica could never destroy. I'd thought about it for weeks. What to do with the lake? The property that brought so much pain. I could sell it. Walk away. Let someone else deal with the memories. But that felt like giving up, like letting Veronica win. So I chose the opposite. Natalie Brennan Memorial Park, public access, free for everyone, 15 acres of healing. The playground went up in September. Accessible equipment for kids with disabilities. Natalie would have loved that. She taught special education students for 5 years. The Asthma Awareness Education Center opened in October. Information about triggers, treatments, emergency response. How many lives could it save? Walking trails wound around the lake. Benches at scenic points. Quiet spaces for grief. Open spaces for joy. The dedication ceremony drew 200 people. More than Natalie's funeral. The sign at the lake entrance read, "Natalie Brennan Memorial Park, where healing meets water." Beneath it, smaller text, "In memory of those harmed by unchecked power." It wasn't just for Natalie. It was for everyone. Mrs. Martinez spoke. Mr. Okafor spoke. 19 families shared what the park meant to them. A new family moved into Veronica's former house that week. Military family, 2 kids. German shepherd named Ranger. They flew 3 flags: American, Minnesota, Marine Corps. They knocked on my door Saturday morning, nervous. Young couple, maybe early 30s. "Mr. Brennan, we're the Petersons. We just moved into the house down the street. We wanted to ask about HOA rules for the flags." I smiled. First genuine smile in months. "Fly them proudly. Things are different here now." The letter arrived the following Tuesday. Forwarded from the community center. Return address, Phoenix, Arizona. The letter from Dorothy and Frank Martinez was handwritten on flowered stationery. "Dear Russell, you don't know us, but Veronica destroyed our home 3 years ago. When we heard what you did, we cried, not from sadness, but from relief that someone finally stopped her. Thank you for having the courage we didn't. You saved families we'll never meet. That matters more than you'll ever know. They were helping their new HOA in Arizona, teaching board members about accountability, transparency, respect. The fight mattered more than I'd ever known. Here's what I learned from 6 months of fighting an HOA tyrant who killed my daughter. Power without accountability always becomes abuse. Silence in the face of injustice always enables the abuser. And one person saying no can light a fire that burns down an empire built on fear. Veronica was sentenced in November. 10 years for manslaughter, 5 years for embezzlement, concurrent, civil judgment, $3.2 million wrongful death. I donated it all to the Victim Relief Fund. The HOA recovered $180,000. Every penny returned to community accounts. Pinewood Estates became a model for HOA reform statewide. Legislators cited our case when drafting new protections. Natalie's legacy, not her death, but what it prevented. So here's my question for you. When you face injustice, in your neighborhood, your workplace, your community, what will you do? Will you stay quiet because it's easier? Or will you stand up because it's right? Tell me in the comments what you would have done in my shoes. So let me ask you one more time. What would you do if an HOA president killed your daughter and thought she'd get away with it because of her power and connections? Would you accept the system's failure? Or would you use every legal weapon you owned to destroy her the way she destroyed you? Here's the truth nobody tells you. Bullies with clipboards and bylaws are still bullies. They count on your silence, your fear, your belief that they're too powerful to challenge. But here's what they don't know. When you own the one thing they can't live without, and when you have nothing left to lose, power shifts faster than they can comprehend. If this story fired you up, smash that like button. Subscribe for more stories about everyday people standing up to entitled tyrants who think rules don't apply to them. Drop a comment telling me. Have you dealt with HOA abuse? What happened? I read every single comment. Share this video with anyone fighting their own HOA battle. They need to know they're not alone, and that justice is possible. Remember, your property rights matter. Your family's safety matters. Your peace in your own home matters. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to let criminals hide behind authority. This is Ephraim with HOA vs. Karen Stories. And this was how a $3,000 fake fine turned into a decade-long prison sentence and a memorial that will outlive us all. Until next time, know your rights, document everything, and never let them make you a victim twice.